Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, the Table and Able, Shulchan Aruch Yomi. We're finishing another week. What is it, the 25th week? Is that possible? 25 weeks? Yeah, 15th week. 15th week, Ayin Hay, Simon 75. Lizar Megilir Sear Vikol Isha B'Shas Kriya Shema, Chen Shlo Likros Keneged Erva. When you're saying Kriya Shema, it says in the Gemara, you can't say Kriya Shema while you're looking at the nakedness of a woman or a man. Say it includes a man also, um, or while you're hearing a woman's voice, or when you see their uncovered hair. This is There's a whole sefer. I mean, Oz v'Hadar Lavusha Re'eh Helchas is primarily cultivated from these halachas. I just want to remind everyone that the title of this chapter is Kriya Shema, B'Shas Kriya Shema. There's an isser of saying Kriya Shema while you're looking at these things, not that you shouldn't look at these things all the time, and not that women have to do their utmost to make sure you shouldn't look at these things. So just keep that in mind, bear that in mind. I'm going to elaborate more in um, Ian to lean on, the Ian portion of the Shulchan Aruch Yomi Shir. This is a very hot button topic, controversial topic, sneos, maybe the most attractive topic, if you like the word, to talk about in Judaism and probably in the whole world. So we're going to talk about Hilchos Kriya Shema, and I'm going to try to lay out some of the Divrei Chazal from the Gemara that talk about this, so we can have clarification of what exactly Chazal warned against and what Chazal didn't warn against. And again, you can draw your own conclusions. I will tell you what the Shulchan Aruch basically says, and the Ramah basically says that the stupid fly bothering me over here. And and even to lean on, I'll tell you my personal opinion. Let's start. Hilcha Aleph Tevach Magula Be'isha Makom Shedarcha Lechasoso Afilu Ishto Asr Likros Kriya Shema Kenegda. This is the Gemara says that if she has a tefach is, I don't know, this much, I don't know, a couple centimeters, 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters, um, in a place where she normally covers it. For example, most women hold not like the Chazon Ish. I mean, the Mishnah Berurah says a woman has to cover till her knees, or some posts can say a little below the knees. So when she sits down, she should have her knees covered by her skirt. Assuming that you're makel for that, and you're allowed to have the bottom half of your legs covered. Now, my daughter, she grows up Haredi, and once she's 3 years old, my wife's already putting on tights. She's wearing tights because they hold socks. The Haredi world, even the Yeshivish world holds you have to wear socks. Even young girls, once they're 3 years old, they have to cover their entire legs, like the Chazon Ish. Um, anyway, this halakha is talking about assuming, like the Mishnah Berurah, that she doesn't have to cover until the knees. If she has a tefach above the knees, which would probably be, considered more of a mini skirt. So if it's a tefach above the knees, you can't say Kriya Shema while facing that. Uh, Hagad or Amasav Yisham Davka Beishto. Some say it only applies to your wife. Even if it's a little bit above the knees, you can't say Kriya Shema. The Ramah says the halacha seems to be like the rush, that you have a tefach. As long as it's less than a tefach, even if it's above the knees, you can say Kriya Shema, or above the elbows, right? All the only difference between her and a different woman is that a woman has nothing to do with saying a man saying Kriya Shema from a woman. It's about a woman saying Kriya Shema when she's naked, and as long as her top is covered and she's sitting down, so her bottom is covered, she can say Kriya Shema. The Mishnah Berurah doesn't bring the Rashba. The Rashba says that a woman who's looking at another woman, even if the woman is uncovered, both on top and on the bottom, she is mutter to say Kriya Shema, because the whole Isser comes from a pasuk V'lo Yirecha Ervas Davar. And the explanation being for this halacha from the Mishnah Berurah is that, of course, if you see erva, if you see something which turns you on, you're gonna have bad thoughts. You're gonna have racing thoughts, and you're not gonna be able to say Kriya Shema, concentrate on Kriya Shema. You're gonna be too focused on the erva, and it's gonna preclude you from having the right kavana for the mitzvah of Kriya Shema, and that's the reason you can't look at erva. Um, so the Rashba says that a woman seeing another woman, right? Rasha wasn't talking about, I guess, lesbians. um, so according to them. And the Achronim Paskin, like this Rashba, that even the Rush is motive to the Rashba, that a woman against its opposite another woman can say Kriya Shema Divrei Kedusha, but she won't be aroused another woman. This is only for a man seeing a woman. This is basically the idea of this halacha. Again, the Mishnah Berurah adds in, of course, right? This is only the Isser of Kriya Shema. The Isser Hula Hari Poskim Legros Neged Magula Filom Chavan Lestuchu Isakuda. Well, in the Isser Istaklas, the Mishnah Berurah says here in Sifkat and Zion, in terms of actually looking at a woman, when you're not saying Kriya Shema, even if you look at the small finger, the pinky of a woman, if you're looking at her to enjoy her pinky finger, over balav you're over the lav of the suru acharechem. Now, I'm going to show you from a Gemara. The Gemara is not talking about that, because the Gemara actually says what the drasha is talking about, and you're going to see from the Gemara in Nedarim, it's not talking about this. There's a different chazal. It says whoever looks at the espaktana as he looks at the makom torfa. It doesn't say it's a bad thing. It just says if you can even get enjoyment from the pinky of a woman, like you can get enjoyment from looking at her private or genitals. So it doesn't say it's a bad or a good thing. So we're going to leave it at that. That's all I have to say here. Let's go on to Beis. Seyar Shalisha. Her hair, Shidarcha Lechasoso, is another hot button topic, especially here in Israel. Sfardim, Ravad Yosef famously said you can't wear a sheitel, you have to wear a tichel, you have to cover your hair with something else, you can't wear a sheitel. Also, the girls connected afilu ishto. If you see even your wife's hair uncovered, you can't say Kriya Shema. However, girls who are not married, right, they don't cover their hair. That's not the minhag, is not to cover their hair. So you could say Kriya Shema, can I get their hair? Even though technically basulos are considered nidui, right? When they come the time when they have started to menstruate, they didn't go to the mikvah until they get married. They don't go to the mikvah, so they are nidos. But technically, it's okay because it's something. It's the minhag is to keep that open. So even though they're arayos, right? These halachas only apply to erva, to arayos. Like if it's talking about your mother and your sister and your daughter, which are not arayos to you, which are arayos, but they're mutter for yichud at least for certain halachas. So you're allowed to even say Kriya Shema Keneged their naked parts, technically, meaning tefach, but not completely naked. So basically, the halacha is that that since the minhag is for non-married girls to not cover their hair, it's okay to say Kriya Shema Keneged, even though they're needles. Hagavudin asaros. Also, a lot of women use a tichel or something to cover their hair, like a scarf to cover their hair, and you don't have to cover. Even a little bit of hair comes out. If it's less than a tefach, most poskim say they're allowed to show that. So therefore, even if that's exposed, you're allowed to say Kriya Shema. And certain and a wig, a sheitel, right? You could also say Kriya Shema Keneged the wig. Even like the Hasidim who put sort of a covering on the wig already, sort of like a little beanie hat on top of the wig. What is that called? Looks like a yarmulke, a doily. They put a doily on top of their sheitel. Even if the doily's not on, you could say Kriya Shema. Gimel Yesh Zar Mishmias Kol Zemer Isha B'Shas Kriya Shema. While you're saying Kriya Shema, you can't hear a woman sing. Hagav Afilu Isha, even your wife. I'll call a ragil boy and erva, because the Gemara says Kol B'Isha erva. Even the Gemara seems to imply that a woman talking is already considered an erva and arayas, but the Gemara, the poskim say, is talking about her singing. I will call a ragilbo eno erva, the voice of a woman that you're ragilbo. If you normally hear her voice, it's actually mashra from the poskim over here. That it's okay to hear her voice say Kriya Shema, but of course Mishnah Berurah says to have hana to listen to her voice means to listen to music. Let's say you're a musician, a woman musician, right? You heard her voice when you're growing up. You're accustomed to hearing her voice. According to the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah, you'd be allowed to say Kriya Shema when she's singing, even live when she's singing, but you can't have hana from it. So that's what it comes out. Interesting. Halacha Dalet also likros keneged erva afilu shel oved galulim. Not only Jews, but non-Jews also. Even though non-Jews, the Mishnah Berurah says you might think they're like animals. They're not like animals. They're human beings. They're also arayos. So chen keneged ervas katan or aser. Also, a child who's not bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, you also can't say kriya shema opposite their erva. Yeshma tir neged ervas katan kol zman shein aroy labia. The Ramah brings a het there that if the child is not royal abiyah, that would be 9 years old for a boy and 3 years old for a girl. So then you can say Kriya Shema K'neged their erva mechein ikar, and that's halacha by bris milah. They say it, and there's a discussion on whether you can actually hold the bris milah while you're making the bracha. Magen Avraham says you can't hold it. Mr. Brewer says chalila to follow the Magen Avraham. It's dangerous if you're not holding the milah and then you make the bracha and you have to do the milah right away. You have to pick it up and get the right grasp right away. It's going to lead to certain problems. Erva. Dal hey erva ba'ashashes v'ro'os haderech na'atoseh also likros kenegda. If you see through ashashes, I don't. Usually it means like a vase, a clear vase, but it could also mean a screen, right? You see on a TV screen. Also likros kenegda. You can't say kriyash, but it doesn't make a difference whether there's actually a woman behind the screen, the TV screen. There's just a picture of a woman, a digital image. You could see her, since you could see her. It's aser, lo yara b'cha ervas davar, right? Re'iyah, if you could see it, you could see it. Vav haisa erva kenegdo v'hichzir panim mimena. Let's say you're opposite a woman who's naked or uncovered, v'hichzir panim mimena, and you turn your face away. You don't have to turn your whole body. Osha atzam einav, or he closes his eyes. Ushvalayla shehusuma, or it's dark at night, you can't see her. Osha husuma, he knows she's naked, she's opposite him, but he can't see her, or he's blind. The Shulchan Aruch paskins, he's makel the Shulchan Aruch, and says you could say Kriya Shema in that instance because you don't see her. Right? You shouldn't say davar, dibur, right, Torah, which is Kriya Shema, while you see her. You can't see her now, so it's okay. The Mishnah Berurah does not like this psak and says no. It says yireh in the pasuk, right? Even at the potential to see, if the lights were turned on, or you weren't blind, or you turn your face around, you open your eyes, you'll be able to see. So therefore, you have to actually turn your whole body and face away from the erva in order to say Kriya Shema according to the Mishnah Berurah. According to the Shulchan Aruch, it would be okay as long as you close your eyes. That's the conclusion of today's shir. As I mentioned, many Sfarim about Tznius, Oz V'Hada Lavusha, a big sefer written by a rabbi from Gateshead, I believe, right, Falk. A huge sefer. They give out all these conventions when the women get Musar Shmuzin about Tznius. Brings hosts of halachas from this simon, from not just Mishnah Berurah, but primarily from Mishnah Berurah, but also from Magen Avraham, the Taz, the Poskim, that talk about the halachas over here. Somehow, all of a sudden, which is really strange to me, the halachas is about saying Kriya Shema. It doesn't say Tefillah, right? Tefillah, you have to have more kavanah than Kriya Shema. The Gemara only says Kriya Shema, right? Bigger chiddush say Tefillah. Tefillah is only D'Rabbanan according to a lot of Rishonim. Kriya Shema is D'Oraisa. So why didn't it say Tefillah? You have to have more kavanah, right? You can't even hold anything while you're saying you're davening. You can't even hold Lulav and Esra while you're davening. Maybe you can if it's chaviv to you, but you can't hold something while you're davening. Kriya Shema, you can hold things while you're saying Kriya Shema, and Tefillah, the kavanah should be more imperative over there. And there's no halakha unless it's Kriya Shema. You can't say. There's things like brachos and other things like that. Second of all, we're learning from this halacha that even when you're not saying Kriya Shema, you can't look at them. So why does the Gemara have to say you can't say Kriya Shema opposite them? Obviously, you're already looking at them, so you have some heter to look at them in the first place. So these things which are forbidden to see. How could you be looking at them in the first place? That they have to say Kriya Shema, you can't say. Obviously, you're looking at them already. It means it's mutter to look at them. And third of all, the third extension is to say that women have to dress in a way, sanua. There's even, he brings here, this is the Dirshu edition, he brings from a lot of poskim that say someone have to cover their entire necks. You can't expose your necks. So that's what basically the sefer is about. Oz v'hadar lavusha. Lavusha is the clothes, that the tremendous oz v'hadar you get for covering your body. Someone and Mea Sharim even cover their entire bodies. They look like nuns. So the halachas of tznius, that a woman has to make sure every part of her body is covered in order that a man shouldn't come to see her, even though technically it seems like she's allowed to look at these things. It's just you can't say Kriya Shema. That's what the Gemara says. You can't say Kriya Shema. Liracha is davar. Disha is dibur Kriya Shema. Then you can't say it. Otherwise, you could look at it. So obviously, you think I'm a heretic by saying these things. I'm a crazy guy. I'm a shugana. the Gemara says, forbidden, chas v'chalila, the worst thing in the world, the worst thing in the world, terrible, 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 terrible. Chas v'shalom, chas v'shalom. Right? You can't even put a face of a woman in a magazine anymore, right? Mishpacha magazine doesn't allow pictures of women. A lot of from newspapers, publications don't allow pictures of women. Now even their faces or even their body that's covered, like Rebbetzin Youngreis, right? Can you buy Rebbetzin Youngreis' biography? Don't know. How could you buy it? I don't know. There seems now to be a little more in the Jewish media, social media. They're exposing women's appearance. Women are talking and they're appearing their faces and their bodies, obviously clad head to toe, according to Lachas Nias in the latest fashion in the wigs. But anyway, if you want to hear more about this topic, stay tuned for Ian Talina on coming up next, where we'll discuss some of the proofs from the Gemara, which would seem to contradict what I've just said, but then I'm going to answer them. You want to hear this coming up next.